Hello and welcome to our September virtual opening. My name is Emma Wilson and delighted that you could join us. This month's feature artists include Julie Houck, Cooper Dragonette, Helen Lewis, and James Bonner. We'll hear more from them in a few minutes. First, a few thank yous. Thank you to our clients and our community who support and engage with the arts. And thank you to our artists who inspire and share the beauty of the way that they see the world. So it's September in Maine, and each day there is something for everyone. One day it's 80 and sunny, and you want to jump into the ocean until you actually do. And then in the next day it's 65, and you can see the faintest of change in colors in the red maples. We have so enjoyed this summer with welcoming visitors from near and far. And as we enter into the glorious days of the shoulder season, we are excited to welcome you here at 154 Middle. So now let's hear from our artists. I'd like to introduce artist Julie Houck. As a contemporary painter working in oils, Julie aspires to convey not only the scene, but also the moment and mood. The moment is fleeting, but the painting allows us to live in that moment just a little bit longer, to linger, to reflect, to contemplate, to enjoy. She often talks about being inspired by the interplay of light on the landscape, which is ever elusive and always changing. Julie shares her time between Hawaii and Maine, and her paintings allow us to enjoy them as if they were painted anywhere. Please welcome artist Julie Houck.
Thank you for that nice introduction, Emma. My name is Julie Houck, and I am a Portland Art Gallery artist. I've exhibited with the gallery for a number of years, and I'm primarily known for my very ethereal landscapes. Unlike a lot of my colleagues, when you think of landscape, you think of the genre painting, you think of rocky coastline, you think of pine trees, you think of lighthouses, you think of little boats. I'm not interested in the literal view. I'm more interested in inducing what the landscape is all about. And the way I do that is by taking the elements of the landscape and basically using a very minimal approach to how I want to present them to you. So in all my landscapes, you will see a foreground, a middle ground, and a background, classic composition. But you'll also see the absence of where is the place. It could be anywhere. They're mostly coastal scenes. They have an ubiquitous feel where they could be anywhere in the world, anywhere you want them to be, anywhere you make them dream them to be. So here in this painting back here is one of the paintings that's in the show. It's called A Passing. It's a 36 by 36 oil and panel. You'll see where I've just used a suggestion of sea, water, land, horizon, and sky. One of the primary elements in my painting that distinguishes it from a lot of other paintings is the fact that there's a huge range of values and inducement of light. I had classical atelier training, which taught me all about light on form. And I moved away from doing figures and pots and glassware and still life. And I apply those same classical studio techniques to my contemporary oil paintings. So you'll see the evidence of my training in my work, and you'll see the value structure, you'll see the empty perspective, but you also won't see the literal view of where you're being taken. So always the sense of water, a sense of land, a sense of sky, and a sense of kind of lifting you up. People say that my work makes them feel happy. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I think that's a wonderful thing. It's like, why can't work make people happy? Do they always have to be about a thing or a message or a content? Having something that's just beautiful that transports people is what my work is all about. I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing you at the opening. And if not, I hope you enjoy my work online. Thank you so much.
Now I'd like to introduce artist Cooper Dragonette. Cooper's inspiration comes from his strong connection to the sea and to the coast of Maine. Oftentimes, Cooper's paintings come from plein air sessions, but more recently he has found time to reflect in his studio. Viewers often comment on his strength in sharing that sense of place with the sense of place, as if they are there standing on that rock or looking at that ocean view. Cooper has made it clear that his sense of place is with his family, which are two sons and his beautiful wife, Jill, right here in Maine. Please welcome artist Cooper Dragonette.
Hi, I'm Cooper Dragonette, and I'm so happy for you to see my new work at the Portland Art Gallery opening September 5th. It's a collection of works that is really a through line of my time here in Maine. It sort of stretches from my early days sailing along the shores from Rockland down to the Canadian border to my life now, which is not as glamorous, running errands, driving to soccer practices, getting groceries, doing dishes, but still lovely here in beautiful Cape Elizabeth. And you'll see those contrasts in the paintings at the gallery, from hard, rocky granite little islands to soft, quiet tidal marshes just out my back door. And I love having those two experiences and those two landscapes to work from. They're just both interesting, both intriguing, and always inspiring. There's a limitless choice of possibilities of places to paint here on the coast, and being in Cape Elizabeth, I have access and landscapes more than I could ever paint in a lifetime. The time that I do have to paint, I try to spend as much as I can outdoors, painting plein air, chasing light, chasing tides, chasing shadows. It's really in the studio where I get to drill down and explore some of those themes, maybe create a piece that's not a true landscape. Maybe it's a combination of images, of scenes, of memories, a lot of imagination. And as an artist, you get to use artistic license. So hopefully some of that comes through in the work you see at the gallery this month. Thanks so much for coming to the show, and I look forward to seeing you September 5th.
Now I'd like to introduce artist Helen Lewis. It's always something to look forward to here at the Portland Art Gallery when Helen and her husband Brad are on their semi-annual trip to Portland. Her car is always perfectly packed with these perfectly beautiful paintings, and she's just one of those people that leads with a smile. Similarly, Helen's works are invitations for the viewer to look more closely, explore the layers, ask the questions, look at the luminosity, and just invites us to tap into our curiosity. Please welcome artist Helen Lewis.
Thank you, Emma, for that lovely introduction. I'm so pleased to be exhibiting in the month of September at Portland Art Gallery. It's such a beautiful space and a great staff, and I thank each of them for all that they do. I need to say that I am truly honored to have my work hanging alongside the work of the other three featured artists, Cooper, Julie, and James. Such talented artists. It's an honor to have my work hanging in the midst of theirs. This new body of work for this September show is comprised of works that are done in my two primary mediums of encaustic and oil and cold wax. And it is also following along the vein of most of my work, in that I'm endeavoring to convey a sense of peace and calm to the viewer. I think that most of you would agree that there is a great deal of noise and chaos and negativity coming from media and headlines and just the amount of information that comes at us from all directions. I feel that those try to demand our attention, to chip away at our time, and even to push anxiety and worry upon us. I want my work to serve as the polar opposite of that. I want it to be something that can quiet and calm you as the viewer, so that you're able to hear that voice within yourself, that deepest place, that soft voice within your own heart that whispers to you. And I want it to usher in light and beauty and hopefully bring you to a place of peace and tranquility and hope. I know that my creative practice has been a source of peace for myself. From the earliest of ages, I've loved to draw and paint, and I found that when I did so, I was able to tap into contentment. I was able to push away the the difficulty and even sometimes sadness, and be able instead to just focus in on the beauty and the joy that I was creating and in the creativity itself. So I don't know that at that young age I would have put that language to it, but as I've grown and aged, I certainly have arrived at an understanding and an appreciation of the truth that my creative practice does serve in that way for me. I also have come to understand that in order for my creativity to go well, in order for me to be pleased with the outcome of my paintings, it my practice needs to come out of a place of that quiet centeredness. It needs to come out of a place that is steeped in meditation and prayer. And I think that you would see also the work for this September show, even in the titles, that the titles reflect that pursuit of peace that's so vital for me. Titles like A Place of Listening, Quiet Enough to Hear, Invited In, and even Words Softly Spoken. You have to look closely at my work in order to catch the details, in order to see the subtle nuances that are there. And I want to encourage anyone that may be in the Portland area to come into the gallery during the month of September and do exactly that. Come in and spend some time with my paintings, look for those details, soak in some of the calm, and also just soak in some of the beauty that is there in the gallery with all of the other art that's there. I want to leave you today with a quote that's attributed to the Irish poet William Butler Yeats. Yeats said, "The world is full of magic things, patiently waiting for our senses to become sharpened." I want to encourage you, not just, of course, with my art, but in all of life, to get quiet enough, to look closely enough to find the beauty. Life is so fleeting. Let's not miss the magic. Thank you so much.
Now I'd like to introduce artist James Bonner. Like the other artists, there's much anticipation about James Bonner's show this year. James is a contemporary American realist painter who received his formal training in art at the University of Arkansas at Little Rock and now calls Maine home. Although James still considers himself a self-taught artist, believing it's trial and error to be essential for his artistic development. Citing the painters of Andrew and Jamie Wyeth as major influences on his art, James taught himself how to paint with egg tempera and dry brush, watercolor, eventually developing his own identifiable style. The excitement around James's work are the surprise elements that fuel these strong emotions, whether it's a particular glance, remnants of something that was once living, or just this reverence for the natural world. It's there, and it's going to churn up inside of you as well, which is, after all, one of the biggest gifts of art. So please welcome artist James Bonner.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'd also like to thank the staff at Portland Art Gallery for once again giving me this opportunity to show my work to the viewing public. It's always such an honor. And yes, indeed, I am James Bonner, and I am a realist painter living and working in Maine. And because I'm not really, this isn't my forte, I've kind of jotted down a few notes to cheat from here that that I'm going to read from that'll probably, hopefully, give you a little more intent into my creative process. So let me look at these for a second. And firstly, I'd just like to say that for this September show, I've put together an eclectic group of paintings that I've been working on for the past year. Some are pretty straightforward representations of the subject, and others are more narrative. Oftentimes, compilations of my imagination around something that intrigues me. Regardless of which one, all are rendered with as much depth and emotion that I can muster for the subject I'm connecting with through my paint. And secondly, I would say that although I am a realist painter, I'm not a photorealist or hyperrealist, nor do I strive to be. I'd much rather you see the hand of the creator as opposed to trying to obliterate any evidence of human touch. It must be real, but not too real. It's a fine line for me, and it usually means whether a subject appears static or alive. I love painting in Maine. It's a treasure trove of subjects to paint for me because it's obviously beautiful, but it's also gritty as hell and time-worn. The latter is what I'm usually attracted to, not the big sweeping vistas, but the small painted vignettes of day-to-day life that in many ways are vanishing. I simply feel a kinship and a reverence for what's come before me and will most likely still be here when only my spirit is left in my beloved Maine. And just in closing, I would like to say that although I do have my own narratives and my own ideas behind my paintings, I always invite the viewer to reach their own narratives or their own conclusions about what I'm trying to express. I put a lot of emotion into my paintings and my work. And if I could just pull a little emotion from the viewer, that is what's important to me, just to spark that emotion, that connection. So that's really it in a nutshell. And I hope everyone can come out and enjoy the show. Not just my part, but the other artists that are involved in the show as well. They're all wonderful and creative. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for our September virtual opening. I invite you to follow us on Instagram at Portland Art Gallery, subscribe to our newsletter, portlandartgallery.com, and I also invite you to tune in to Radio Maine with Dr. Lisa Belisle on YouTube. Lisa engages in thoughtful conversations with our artists and also the broad members of our community. Please stop in and see us at 154 Middle Street, 7 days a week, 10 to 5:30. In the meantime, be well, stay curious, and keep in touch. Thank you so much.